Welcome back to Vintage Family Recipes with Belle. We're getting closer to Valentine's Day, so I wanted to show you something quick and easy that's wonderful for Valentine's Day morning or breakfast for dinner. We're going to make pancakes tonight. We're going to make them heart-shaped, and we are going to make them with sour milk, and they're not going to use a mix. They're completely homemade. So we're going to start really easily with this mixture. I've done a lot of prep beforehand because, as you know, I'm learning to do this by myself now, and so I don't want to have a huge video to edit with something long and complicated the first few times I edit completely by myself. So that's why we're doing pancakes. Plus, they're fun, especially if you have little kids and use the different shapes. I'm going to use heart shapes for Valentine's Day. So I have my 1.5 cups of flour already in my bowl. I'm going to add my sugar, my baking soda, and my baking powder. I don't use salt, but I am using a single egg, some Mexican vanilla, and some oil. And I'm going to also use 1 cup of sour milk. If you don't have sour milk, you can use regular milk. I just happen to have milk that's no longer drinkable, but still very usable. So I'm using sour milk. It can also be used to replace buttermilk. So I'm going to add in my egg, my oil, and my Mexican vanilla. You can use regular vanilla, but I like the flavor of Mexican vanilla in my pancakes. Although I won't eat these tonight because they're not gluten-free. However, when I make my own, I do use Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1 gluten-free flour, and I use the same recipe, and they actually taste really good. My family will eat the gluten-free if it's all I make. So I'm now going to pour in my single cup of sour milk. And this is the great recipe to make with your kids when they're little. This is really like the first thing that I learned to cook when I was a kid. Pancakes. Super easy, super fast. You really can't mess them up at all. So I've mixed my batter together. Oh my gosh, how fast was this? So I am a history teacher. I teach high school American history, U.S. history. So anyway, I'm always wondering where things came from and what people did and how they got created. And I found a few fascinating things. Like, there was a Roman cookbook from the 5th century that had a pancake recipe in it. Aristotle mentioned pancakes in some of his writings. The Chinese have a pancake recipe that's thousands of years old as well. And Native Americans also had a pancake recipe. So they're all a little bit different, but they're all basically the same thing, pancakes. So we're going to go over to my stove. I have a griddle on my stove. You can use a griddle that goes on top of your burner. I have just one that goes in the center. You could use a Lodge stove griddle and put that on your burners and use that as well. So there's different ways you can do it. I just happen to have a griddle, and that's what I'm going to use. So we're going to move over to the stove and finish making our gluten-free pancakes. And I've decided that this is not as I normally have it. It's thicker than I normally have it. So I am going to add a little bit more milk to make this more the consistency that I want. And you can actually see, like when you look, you can actually see like the butter curds forming in my milk. Oops. Now it's more of a consistency that I like. If you make this with regular milk and not sour milk or buttermilk, you're just going to use 2 tablespoons of baking powder instead of a baking powder baking soda mix. And I will put both in the recipe that goes down in the description so you'll have it if you decide to make them with my recipe from scratch. So the first thing I'm going to do is put just a little bit of canola oil on my stove, on my griddle. I want to make sure I don't use too much because I don't want it to start a fire or anything. So this is the one time I actually do use like a measuring spoon to just kind of shake it around a little bit. And then I grab some wax paper, spread it around. My burners front and back to the same piece. I have these cute little hearts that I'm going to use to make my pancakes in. So you do have to spray your mold or oil your mold. I'm going to use Pam cooking oil. It just is easier to spray your mold if you use some Pam. Okay, and I'm going to put it down on my griddle. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Both of them there. Let it just soak in on both pieces. This is also where I'm a little bit more diligent about measuring, because with these two, you're only supposed to use 1/4 cup of the dough, and so I actually would use a measuring cup to put it in my two. But first I want to make sure my griddle is hot enough. It's sizzling now. So I'm going to slowly pour in my 1/4 cup of batter into my heart. So it spreads out evenly. There we go. And then I'm going to do my second one. There we go. And we're going to let them bubble and set. When they're nice and set, we can lift the heart right off and then flip the pancakes. If you want, and you had strawberries, you could add strawberries. I don't have strawberries tonight. You could add raspberries. You could add red food coloring if you wanted. You could get the red and white little heart sprinkles and put those on the top. You could turn them into red velvet pancakes by adding a little bit of cocoa and a little bit of red food coloring, and then they would be red velvet pancakes. There's a lot of things you could do with these cute little heart-shaped pancakes. I'm just showing you the basics tonight of buttermilk pancake. It's looking like it's nice, getting nice and bubbly in the middle, and so that it looks like it's setting. I don't want to try and pull it off too soon, because if I do, then it'll just whoosh and it won't be a heart anymore, and that would kind of ruin the Valentine's Day theme we're going for today. There we go. One. Let's look at this one. Give it another couple seconds because it's not as bubbly as that one was. So I'm going to give it another couple seconds. And this one's not ready yet because it didn't just lift off nice and easy. There it goes, nice and easy. And I'm going to grab a different flipper because I want it to have a nice wide base to pick up with. This one, it's got an even wider base than that one. Okay, here goes the test, because I am sometimes not a very good flipper overer. Oh, look how pretty she looks. or he. And then, whoop. Oh, he shaped out a little. I flopped him down too hard. So we're just going to do that. And I'm going to let him sit there for another minute or two. Let's see. Let me lift the bottom. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Ah, beautiful. Valentine's Day, heart-shaped pancakes. Well, pick a different one. I meant to tell you one of them was burned.
I broke your heart.
Oh, no. Smart Alec. New York State maple syrup.
Oh, that's a lot of syrup.
That is a lot of syrup. That's okay. It's a thick pancake, if you didn't notice.
I did, yes.
And it's a buttermilk pancake, not a plain milk pancake.
It is indeed a pancake.
Is it too thick?
I think it's pretty good, actually. I like it.
Okay, awesome. Great recipe to make with your littles or give hearts on Valentine's Day. There's tons of shapes, so you could do animals. They have a Mickey Mouse, a Minnie Mouse. They have zoo animals. You can pretty much find any shape that you want to make pancakes with these days. So, thanks for watching. If you haven't liked us yet, please do so. Subscribe, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And have a great night, and we'll see you next time on Vintage Family Recipes with Belle.